This podcast is brought to you by Flipper, the number one marketplace to buy and sell online businesses and startups. So if you own or run your own online business, have you considered selling your site, your store, your tech, or your app? Well, with world-class combined matching technology, dedicated brokers, and end-to-end services, all at the most efficient price, Flipper makes selling your online business simple. So to get a free valuation, simply visit flipper.com/tech talks. Each month, thousands of online business owners exit with Flipper. Again, to learn more, visit flipper.com/tech talks. Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, I recently encountered a company called Source, and their technology provides safe, clean drinking water for industrial, commercial, residential, and community applications. And I was reading how they do this by using their hydropanels, which tap into the endless supply of solar energy and moisture in the air, and the result is they produce drinking water entirely off the grid in a self-contained system. And this revolutionary tech is hoping to do for drinking water what solar panels have done for electricity, ultimately making water a renewable resource. So Source Global is an Arizona-based organisation founded by world-renowned engineer Professor Cody Friesen, whose mission is to make drinking water an unlimited resource. And I want to find out more. So this is a point where I ask you to buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, it's time for me to beam your ears all the way to Arizona so we can speak with Neil Grimmer about Source hydro panels, what they are, how they work, and how they currently are working in more than 40 countries across the world, and the story behind the company and how it's backed by Bill Gates' Breakthrough Energy Adventures, Microsoft's Climate Innovation Fund, and Blackrock. But enough from me. Let's get Neil onto the podcast now. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Neil. Yeah, so I'm Neil Grimmer. I'm the brand president of Source Global. So we are a company that has a renewable water technology that brings water anywhere in the world that there's sunlight and air. So that's my background. So I oversee all of the brand marketing, consumer-facing aspects of what we do as a company.
Awesome. And I'd love to find out a little more about how you got your current role too. I mean, can I ask you to share your origin story and where your passion for tech came from, or that moment that put you on the path you're on today?
Yeah, so actually fell into business a little bit by accident. I was a punk rock musician and an artist, and it was showing in a gallery in San Francisco, and someone from Stanford Product Design saw some of my work, which was all basically futuristic products that were fully functional. You know, they were electromechanical systems, computer chips inside of them, and they, worked. And someone invited me to give a little lecture to the graduate students at Stanford. And I went there, and I was just blown away. And I realized when I met all these amazing creative people that we were all using the same materials, the same skill sets to create things, but they were solving problems in people's lives through technology, through engineering, through art. And I felt a little bit just like a cultural critic. So I jumped in. I left the art world, jumped headlong into product design, and had the good fortune of studying under David Kelly, who was the founder of IDEO. And he brought me over to IDEO, and I spent the early part of my professional career working for David and working on amazing projects, the future of luxury for Mercedes-Benz, the future of bathrooms with P&G, you name it. It was the future of ... And we'd bring creativity engineering to bear and what we called human-centered design to create the next generation of products for all these companies. So incredibly exciting. Then I went from there to start my own company using that same method, where I went from being a designer to being a dad. And I had two amazing little girls, and and it inspired me to start an organic baby food company. I always say my little girls have me wrapped around their finger, which was incredible for business because, put heart and soul in this thing. We became the fastest growing food company in America. And after 6 years, partnered up with Campbell's Soup, and they took it to the next level. But went on from there to start another company in personalized nutrition, where we'd look at your DNA, blood work, and metabolic function to figure out what foods were right for you. And then we created fresh prepared meals customized to your biology, delivered to your door. It was really it's called Habit, an incredible futuristic health and wellness company based on food, clearly. And then after exiting that business, I did a fast lap around the track as the global brand president for Harley Davidson. So I've in my career, I've been in service to babies and bikers, and a shocking overlap sometimes between those two. And now everything in between with Source. We're providing clean, safe drinking water to people all around the world.
Wow, what an incredibly cool story, from bikers to babies. Love that. And of course, that path would lead you to Source Global, which is an Arizona-based organization founded by world-renowned engineering professor Cody Friesen, whose mission was to take drinking water and make it an unlimited resource. And such an important conversation to have. So I'm really excited to get you on here today. So can you tell me more about the story behind the company and those problems, those big problems that you set out to solve with technology?
Well, I'd start by, thank you for recognizing Cody's thought leadership and capability. So Cody Friesen, the founder and CEO of Source Global, material scientist, professor at ASU, and deep background in renewable technology. First company that he started was focused on battery technology for the developing world. So, being able to store all the energy that's being created by the solar panels that were getting deployed specifically in Africa. And when he was on site at one of his installations, he witnessed girls and women walking for water, right? And in many parts of the world, that's a very treacherous path for girls and women. It's not only physically challenging, takes a majority of their day, but also there's predators, both human and animal predators, in the path of just trying to provide water for themselves and their families. And in that moment, Cody said, hey, what it could take the principles of renewables that have applied to battery technology to water, right? And that was the essence of how he founded Source. And so at the core of the technology, when you look at it, it's called a hydropanel. When you look at it, it looks like a solar panel, a little deeper. And really what it does is it uses the power of the sun through photovoltaics, powers the electronics, and then uses the solar thermal to process, basically pulling hot air through the panel, and then it captures the water vapor in a hygroscopic material and uses the heat from the sun to create a temperature differential, which then ultimately, through a very unique process, condenses that water into that water vapor into liquid water. And, so you think about each hydro panel can produce anywhere between 3 and 8 liters of really amazing drinking water a day. And those panels, much like solar panels, can be put into large scale arrays where you can have what we call water farms, where you can have thousands of panels put together, creating millions and millions of liters of water every year. It's an incredibly powerful technology. And when you think about the problem that we're facing today, 2.4 billion people don't have access to clean, safe drinking water around the world. By 2050, that's going to go up to 6 billion people. So Neil, think about the implications of that. A lot of it is driven by climate change or the net effect of already having changed, right? Where people no longer have the predictability and reliability of where the water used to come down, right? Now you're seeing droughts and mass floods happening all around the world, which means that there's an enormous amount of instability on how people traditionally have gotten their water. And so this allows us to put a water farm wherever that water is needed, where there's sun and air and it's not frozen. We can tap the sky and bring that water down right where people need it.
Wow, it's just absolutely incredible what you're doing here. And before you came on, I was reading how, as you said there, those hydro panels use the sun to draw pure water vapor out of the air, transform it into fresh, high quality, perfectly mineralized drinking water. But I'm the kind of guy that can't even walk in a concert hall without having a look for where the free Wi-Fi is coming out, where are the wireless arrays, what's the technology that's making these experiences come to life. So can you tell me a little bit more about the technology that makes all this possible and how it all works together?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different systems being brought together
Yeah.
in the hydro panel. Um, the first is that we have a very unique material that's incredibly hygroscopic, which means that it has an ability to really attract water vapor and condense it very high rate. So it's not dissimilar to the physical phenomena you'd see if you wanted to stop your salt from getting clumpy in a salt shaker. You see sometimes people put rice in there. That rice is more hygroscopic than the salt itself, which means it absorbs that water vapor, keeping it from the salt. So we have a technology, a material that does that very efficiently and very, very effectively. We have machine learning in each panel that actually optimizes water production based on the acute climate that it's in on a daily basis. So not only is the systems very, I would say, complex in its design, but very simple in its nature, that we then have machine learning that allows that to optimize based on its local environment, right? So how much sun it's getting, how much moisture is in the air, and that allows it to always be at its optimal production efficiencies.
And I know it is very early days still, but who are your customers? Who's this aimed at?
We think of our customers and our consumers, really the people who are drinking our water. Our customers are governments, they're NGOs, they're multinational corporations. They are communities like the Navajo Nation, in our own backyard here in the Southwest in the United States. They're broad and wide. Really, it's anybody who needs access to clean, safe drinking water that doesn't actually have it. Right? So that's our customer base. So we do cut across a number of different, what I would characterize as industry verticals, where we have, NGO government work that's really focused on bringing our technology to communities in need. Right. We have a segment that is really in the commercial area where people who are doing remote work, where those workers need access to clean, safe drinking water, multinational corporations who want to provide that water to both either their employee base, their workers, or the communities that are around them. I'll give you a quick example on that one in a second. And then we actually, the water is so amazing that we actually have that water in consumer packaged goods in renewable and reusable, recyclable containers. You can see here. And this water actually is sold on the shelves of Whole Foods as we're creating a new category of water there, which is non-extractive, renewable water. And it tastes amazing, right? So that gives you a sense. And then the last, which is one of the most, probably the elegant applications, is that residential. So we put an array, 2 to 4 panels on a home, and we're able to plumb in that same amazing drinking water right into your house.
Wow, it's absolutely incredible. When I was doing a bit of research on you guys, I also learned that you're backed by the Bill Gates Breakthrough Energy Ventures, Microsoft's Climate Innovation Fund, and Blackrock. So those names don't get any bigger than that, really. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and what it means to you as a company?
Yeah, well, it's incredible. I mean, we feel very fortunate to have such incredible investors around the table. And what it symbolizes to have Breakthrough Energy Ventures, Microsoft Climate Fund, and Blackrock is that, it both articulates the issue that we face globally around access to clean, safe drinking water and the opportunity to bring innovation to solve that problem, right, at scale globally, right? So, we look at that trend line as we were just talking about, where today 2.4 billion people don't have access to clean, safe drinking water. You run that out 25 years from now, and you're looking more like 6 billion people. There will need to be solutions that move from just trying to manage the climate to adapting to the climate. All right. And that's where we come in. We create a climate resilient technology for drinking water for people all around the world. All right. So when you start to think about areas that no longer have the predictability of that rainfall, we're able to put up arrays of hydropanels to bring water right down from the sky to those communities that need it in an abundance and in a renewable way that is non-extractive, right? So you can start to imagine that future where, you will need to have water technologies centered around how you generate water in a sustainable, renewable way. And then obviously how you maintain water. So reuse and recycle that water so that you're not wasting anything in the system. But we really play the role in that upfront part.
what I always say on this podcast every single day is technology works best when it brings people together. And you're taking this to a whole nother level. You're solving some of the biggest problems to face humanity with technology. And more governments are going to be looking towards you to fix some of these problems. I'm curious, though, what is it that keeps you up at night? And how do you keep your curiosity and open-mindedness alive to keep you on that right track?
Well, I would say what keeps me up at night is that this is a huge intractable problem that, if we do it right, we change people's lives, and so I stay awake at night saying, how do we do it right? How do we do it better every day? How do we make sure we get more of these panels to people that need them all around the world? And I think that, that mission, that purpose, that goal we have, we're a very mission driven company in that regard. We see ourselves as not only the source of that renewable, sustainable water, but also the source of what that water does for people. So when we bring that water into a Syrian refugee camp, there's a little girl, we have a photo in our office, a little girl filling up a cup of water. It's like we become a source of hope for her, right? We become a source for empowerment of girls and women all around the world that no longer have to go and fetch water because they can do a 5-minute trip instead of a 5-hour trip to the hydropanel field and get water that they need, right? Which then opens up a world of prosperity. So getting it right means we unlock all of that, right? So I stay up at night thinking about how do we get it right to do that. In terms of like curiosity, I'm a naturally inquisitive person. It's funny, people say, looking at my background, it's kind of a windy path from art and music to baby food to, motorcycles. And really what comes out, I'm just a passion and a driven person. And so when I get into something, I get all the way into it. And I think it activates the designer in me where I see the possibilities of anything and everything. Right. So it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, to be honest with you. But, I think that training as a designer has really, led me to use empathy and understanding to be the basis of everything that I do from a business standpoint, which implicitly means you have to put yourself in the shoes of others to be able to truly understand their needs, wants, and desires so that you can design something that meets those needs, wants, and desires. So, that's usually how I keep curious.
And as you said, you can see the possibilities in just about anything due to your background, but you're also frequenting a world of red tape and legislation, regulation with governments, etc. I'm curious, from the conversations you have, what are the big things that people misunderstand about your industry the most?
Yeah, it's a great question because, and I experienced this a little bit when I joined Source as well, which is, I was from the Bay Area, California. I could turn my water on and get a glass of water and it tastes pretty good. And it felt like it was endless. Right. And it was the idea, it felt like it was endless rather than it was endless. Right. And so oftentimes in the developing world and many cases in the United States, we don't fully understand the issue that when you don't have access to water, when you just turn on the tap or you don't even have a tap in your home, like what that means and what you have to do to contour your life around getting that water, right? And those first, 3 to 8 liters of water in a family's life every day is the most critical water. It's the water they consume. It's the water that they keep, vital and alive with, right? And so oftentimes we can kind of say like, we don't have a water problem, especially in places where you turn on the tap. But now you're starting to increasingly see, even here in Maricopa County and Scottsdale, Arizona, there are communities on the fringes that Scottsdale local government can no longer provide drinking water and water utilities for those communities, right? And so you can start to see that even in our own backyard where we feel like there isn't a water problem, there actually is. And it's increasingly getting worse.
It is such a serious problem at the moment. Of course, if any of us spend any amount of time doom scrolling down our news feeds, we'll see nothing but bad news. But to end on a positive note, I know. What do you think the world will look like in, let's say, 5 years from now? What role do you see technology playing in that future and creating a more hopeful scenario?
Well, I think humanity's always faced challenges, right? And especially with the natural environment, right? And it is ingenuity and innovation and perseverance that has allowed us to endure. And I see that in our future, right? That's why I get so excited about the role of technology and innovation to solve some of the world's most intractable problems. We've done it historically. we're doing it right now, and we'll be doing it into the future. Right? And I think as it relates to climate adaptation, I think we're going to start to see a lot of really exciting startups come into the space of not only how do we manage the climate phenomena, but also how do we allow humans to thrive and have resilience through that as well.
Well, we started the podcast today talking about your origin story, what put you on this path. But of course, none of us are able to achieve any amount of success without a little help along the way. So I'm curious to finish on, is there a particular person that you're grateful towards who helped you get where you are, maybe saw something in you, invested a bit of time in you? Is there anyone you would like to thank?
There's actually so many people, both like mentors, people who have worked with me, for me, and each one, of those people has shaped who I am as a person. But I think I would say David Kelly, who is the founder of IDEO, has left such an indelible mark on who I am as a person, shaped how I see the world, how I think about designing futures for not only my family, but other families around the world. He taught me that method of human-centered design, but really just taught me how to see the world in a very creative and exciting and opportunistic way, where you see potential in everything, and then getting the skill set to actually turn that into something and make it real was all the gifts that David gave me. So I'm very grateful to him for that.
Love that. And I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing that story today. But before I do let you go, for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about Source Global, how they might be able to work with you, partner with you, or just find out more information, what's the best starting point?
Go to www.source.co. And that's our website, and you'll see all of the case studies, the stories of the amazing projects we've done, more detailed background on the technology, and how we apply it to all the different business areas that we discussed in the podcast.
Well, I love everything you're doing here, from how your technologies and your hydro panels are using the sun to draw up pure water vapor out of the air and transform it into fresh, high quality, perfectly mineralized drinking water. And also how your technology is impacting citizens of remote communities in, I think, something like over 50 countries worldwide. Incredible. More than anything, for sharing your origin story and what put you on this path to making these big changes too. But thanks for sharing that with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Neil.
I just love Neil's backstory there, that coming from a world of design and exploring the art of the possible and believing that anything is possible. As a result, the company is now on a mission to make drinking water an unlimited resource. So this is a story I'm going to be following very closely to see if tech will do for drinking water what solar panels have done for electricity. Incredibly cool what they're doing. Got a fantastic backing as well. So I think we're going to be hearing much, much more about this. And I cannot thank Neil enough for coming on and sharing his story today. But what did you think about anything we've discussed? As always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram at Neil C. Hughes, and we'll keep this conversation going. But that's it for today. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.